It is election day, and this is my election prediction. Now, I'm going to go through each of these states and tell you why I think maybe it's a feeling, maybe there's reasons why each state is going to go the way it is. So, vibes right now are pretty positive. We've been here before. 2016 is still in a recent memory for some of us. But the difference from 2016 to now is that there was sort of this assumption that Hillary's going to win. This time, I don't believe that Democrats are taking anything for granted. And there has been a serious ground game in 2020, or should say this year in 2024, in a way that there wasn't in 2016. 2020, of course, there was COVID. It was much harder for Democrats to have a proper ground game, and they still won. This time, they really have invested heavily. From what I'm reading, what I'm seeing in that ground game, ensuring that people who want to vote are able to get out to vote, know when to vote, know where to vote. Many of them, of course, have already voted. So there is a much stronger machine this time, I think, in a lot of these states in a way that there really hasn't been, either because of COVID or because of Hillary in recent years. So I have a feeling that it's going to maybe be a little surprising for some people. So let's start with some of the more talked about states here. Wisconsin, I think, is going for Harris. Michigan, I think, is going for Harris. Pennsylvania, I think, is going for Harris. Now, all these have been fairly close in polling. Kamala Harris has been eking out wins in more recent polls in all these states. But I think based on the Iowa poll, which this Ann Selzer poll that I talked about a couple days ago, there is the older female vote is being underestimated. So women are going to come out, I think, in bigger numbers than is maybe than is what is being polled. I think it's expected they should come out in big numbers, but I think that's sort of being undersampled in a way that it hasn't really affected an election the same way in the past. So there is going to be a big turnout for older women, especially, but also younger women, people generally. I think there's going to be a big turnout, and I think that's going to favor largely Kamala Harris. Which also means, let's just go to the first big surprise. I actually do think the Ann Selzer poll is correct. And Kamala Harris is going to take back Iowa. Remember, Obama won Iowa 2012 before Trump took it back in 2016, or won in 2016 and won it again in 2020. So this is a state that it's not like it's inconceivable that Iowa could go for Democrats. It has recently. I think it's going to go back. Kamala Harris takes Iowa. Let's also North Carolina for Harris. Georgia, I think, is going to be closer in a weird way than North Carolina, but I'm going to say it's for Harris. I will say, these are the two that I'm least confident about. Simply based on, I mean, part of it is just my knowledge of both of those states, but just things are, especially Georgia, it's unpredictable in terms of people that want to vote. Will they actually be able to vote? That is for me, honestly, the biggest question here. Like, I think if everyone who wants to vote is able to vote and everything's, the register, everything's perfect, then Harris wins, no questions asked. The issue is the infrastructure there? Is the system in place in a way that is it going to fail people in a way that it has in the past? So I think that, to me, is the bigger question. But I'm going to just say Georgia, North Carolina goes to Harris. And again, that bears out in some of the numbers as well. Both these states have been very close, but Kamala Harris has been eking them out in some more recent polling. Let's jump to Arizona. I'm saying Arizona, Harris. The reason for this is because Ruben Gallego is up quite a bit. I mean, quite a bit in terms of this election, 4 or 5 points over Kari Lake. For him to have that sort of gap, and he's expected to win that Senate race, for him to be doing so much better than Kamala Harris is against Trump, I just find to be bizarre. That said, Arizona is a state I don't understand. I don't understand why it's been leaning this much towards Donald Trump when Biden won it last time. Not to mention all the campaigning that Harris has done with, these so-called moderate Republicans. I would think that would be important in a state like Arizona, the John McCain state. But it's still been leaning Trump in a lot of polling. So it's just been a weird state for me, but I think it's largely being in polling undersampling Democratic turnout. So because of the way I'm seeing Ruben Gallego. So I'm going to go Harris in Arizona. Harris is already winning the race, as you can see here, but let's just add, for good measure, Nevada. So journalist there, John Ralston, who is apparently never wrong, predicted that Harris is going to eke out a victory here with 0.3%. I tend to think, again, there's some undersampling going on here. I think she may win by a bigger number, not a big number, but bigger than 0.3%, or maybe close. Regardless, I think she's going to take Nevada as well. This is, let's be clear, there's a bit of wish casting going on here, right? Like, clearly I want Harris to win. I also want Harris to win big because I think that helps the ability for Democrats to combat any BS that Trump is clearly going to put out there. Oh, it was stolen again. Every election I lose is somehow stolen. So it's just, there's going to be that bullshit for the next few months, regardless of the. I mean, if Trump wins, he's not going to complain. But regardless of whatever electoral map Harris has, if she wins, he's going to be complaining about, something was rigged or whatever. So get ready for that. I think that's going to be the next stage of this election cycle, is just dealing with that garbage and hoping it goes away on its own. But, you have to wonder, where are if Harris wins, where are these Trump voters going to go? I've been thinking, I thought today, this thought came to me, and I wish I could have flushed it before it entered my brain. But if Trump loses, I'm picturing Hulk Hogan as the next Republican candidate for president, which sounds insane. But Trump, the idea of Trump being the next candidate for the GOP, if I said that in 2012, that would have sounded insane. But that happened. Is Hulk Hogan really that crazy of a choice, considering the direction, the trajectory of this party? It's going to be some D-list celebrity like that. So that's, regardless, I don't want to get too lost in what may happen if Trump loses, because he's got to lose first. But that is going to be the next few months, is just Trump complaining about the election results again if he loses, which is why turnout matters. A big victory matters. I hope people are just tired of him at this point. I mean, that alone is enough of a reason to go out and vote against Trump. Aren't you exhausted hearing about him, hearing from him, hearing that garbage? That's got to be a good enough reason for a lot of people. But even apart from that, of course, women's rights is going to be a big motivating factor here. I hope it's enough for people to turn out and vote for Harris. And then let's be clear, if that happens and Harris is sworn in, there's another fight that has to continue in terms of, people, workers fighting for their rights, ensuring that Kamala Harris delivers on a lot of her promises. The biggest one, I think, the most important one, or not, maybe not the most important, but in terms of, big ideas, expanding Medicare to long-term at-home care. I really hope that happens, not only for, America's sake, but that could have an impact on a place like Canada, because we got some gaps in our healthcare system as well. So, I think it's, people don't really, if you're American and, you only live inside your borders and don't really travel outside, it can be easy to get lost in your own country and think it's the world. The reality is the U.S. has a big impact on the rest of the world, not just in terms of politics or policy, but in terms of culture. The cultural impact of Donald Trump has been immense worldwide. Just get him out, please. Please. So this is my wish casting, but also my prediction. I'm not saying this is definitely going to happen. Don't come back later and say, oh, David, you said this is going to happen. It didn't happen. This is a prediction. I don't know. I don't see the future. I don't know what's going to happen. But this is what I hope will happen and my guess as to what will happen. So let's just watch closely tonight. And if there is a result by midnight tonight, I'm going to do a quick live stream, jump on and just talk about it and talk to all you people and see what you think. All right. Let me know your thoughts below. You can also do your own little map at 270towin.com. I'll link to that below the video as well. So you can do your own little prediction.